are live once again. Welcome to Soundbooth Theater Live. Sorry about the technical difficulties. My name is Justin Thomas James. I am here with Jeff Hayes, narrator extraordinaire, and of course, James Osiris Baldwin, author of Dragon Seed. And before we got hit with that shitstorm of technical difficulties, James was telling us a bit about the plot of Dragon Seed. Do you want to just do a quick recap of what the world looks like?
Dragon Seed, I said it on the previous video, but I'll say it on this one. So Dragon Seed is a JRPG-inspired series. The series is actually Archemi Online, or Archon for short. And essentially Japanese-inspired in the sense that it has some of the story elements and tropes and like things that you would find in, say, old JRPGs like Secret of Mana or, the old Final Fantasies. But I tried to avoid a lot of the cringy anime sort of tropes that sometimes go with JRPGs. So, there's not too much like weird oppai stuff or, weird costumes or anything. It's very dragon-centric, as the name would imply. Hector is a young soldier that gets conscripted into the military in his homeworld. When he's released from the military, he gets this horrible plague, dies of a virus, ends up in a video game where he basically decides to become a dragon knight and goes to dragon school. Dragon school is terrible, and he basically has to sort of work his way through all of that and come out on top somehow, despite all of the challenges he faces. And that's pretty much the basic summary of it. It's pretty crunchy. There's quite a lot of like stat and game development stuff in the actual series. Book 1 touches on some of it. Book 2 touches on more of it. And as we go forward, we sort of learn more about the game and how the fantasy elements mesh with the cyberpunk elements of the setting.
Right. The setting, it is very rich, and we were talking a little bit beforehand of the detail that went into culture and the different races of Archemi Online. And how's my mic sounding, by the way, Jeff?
Yeah, you're all right.
It's all right now?
Yeah.
Good. And all the details. And one other thing we're going to be talking about later is the treatment of animals in this book.
Yeah, this is a very pet-centric series, so there's a lot of like animal and either dinosaur or dragon sort of animal-based stuff.
Yeah, and we're going to be reading some scenes, Jeff and I. First things first. Hello everybody. If you are watching this on YouTube, thank you for your patience. If you're following along and talking on the Discord chat, that is bumping as well. Say hello there in the general or the Soundbooth Theater narration chat. And don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, join the Facebook group, Soundbooth Theater Live, and follow James Osiris Baldwin. Do you have a social media page, James?
I do. If you look up author James Osiris Baldwin on Facebook, you'll find me. I can link it in the YouTube comments.
Perfect. Yeah, if you stick that in the comments. And Jeff, if you want to put the Discord chat in the comments, just in case anybody on YouTube would rather be in Discord, where the fun is happening. The fun's happening everywhere.
Like the NSFW channel?
Well, maybe not that channel. Maybe, I mean, the whole server is NSFW, but
right. But that is where a lot of fun is happening. To be honest,
there's a lot of fun happening there.
But don't go there. Don't
go. Don't. It's dangerous. It's a dangerous place.
Yeah,
you'll never come back out. Okay, so what are we going to start with today? We are going to be narrating a scene from Dragon Seed, which Soundbooth Theater is in the midst of producing at this moment. And we're going to be going over some character voices. Great opportunity here to hear Mr. Hayes flex his accent muscles and also female voice muscles. Because
Jeff read out a little bit of a scene later in the book during the last time that I was on the show, and I remember he did a fantastic job with it. It was really funny.
Okay,
that was the giant frog scene.
The giant frog scene. I don't think. Am I there? Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Jeff.
Yes.
Are you ready to do some narrating?
I just need to know where to go in the
Perfect.
text.
Well, the line is, "This is a takeover," and this scene is exactly 20% of the way through the book. If you know the book very well, you know exactly where this is. So this is in the beginning. This is right after the main character Hector gets sucked into the game or put into the game, and he ends up in a strange place, not where you'd expect to end up in your first like intro to a game. Do you want to explain what Hector encounters?
He lands on a slave airship, basically like a slave transport ship, but it's like an airship, so it's like up in the sky. And that's my little sort of nod to the Elder Scrolls series.
Yeah.
Because typically in Elder Scrolls you wake up in chains somewhere.
Yeah, you're a prisoner.
So that was kind of my sort of reference to them.
Yep. So he's in chains. Spoiler alert.
Am I allowed to swear on this show? Because I swear.
Oh yeah, please do.
Man, he was like, "Oh fuck, where the fuck am I?"
Yeah. So he's like, spoiler alert. He does escape. He doesn't go through the entire book as a prisoner on this airship. And then this scene that we're going to be narrating is him and a few of the other prisoners are trying to take over the ship.
As you do.
As you would. I mean, naturally, what else are you going to do? You're not going to jump overboard. I mean, you're like 10,000 feet above the sea right now.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh yeah, and Archemi's seas, by the way, are savage. Like, the reason that airship technology has been developed ahead of like water boat technology in this setting is because the oceans are basically impassable. They're like mountain ranges. They're crazy.
That's interesting. I think that's one of these things about this book is that there's a lot of details that are very subtly put in, I think. And I think you did go over that in the beginning of the book, but I must have missed it because that's interesting. It's an interesting detail that's why there's more airships than actual boats. Cool. Well, here we go. Jeff, you got the right spot?
Yes.
So characters in this scene, we've got Hector, the main character, who I'll be narrating. Obviously, I'll be the narrator. Jeff, why don't you be everyone who's pink and green?
Okay.
So you'll play the stat computer. You'll play Wikati, who's a Jamaican prisoner as well. And the captain, the person who did the script here said that the captain maybe has like a Slavic or like a Russian accent. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's correct.
And then we've got the navigator, who that's just me, and Ruth is British and an elf.
Yeah, kind of.
All right,
good enough.
What about the computer?
Here we go.
The computer is just American.
The computer. I have in the book that it's a default feminine kind of voice, but that's kind of flexible. It really depends what's not annoying because like I said, this series is pretty crunchy, so there's a fair bit of, meta.
Okay.
Lori will be voicing the stat computer in the end, but for now, we'll get to bask in Jeff's female voices, which is always a blast.
All right,
here we go. This is a takeover. Surrender and drop your weapons.
You have learned a new skill, Intimidate. While you may catch more flies with honey, you won't have any flies to begin with if word gets out you have a bug zapper. Intimidate failed.
Hold on.
That's great.
Big switch.
I'm blanking on Russian right now for some reason.
Good.
Yeah, just imagine he's like a giant Cossack dude. That's pretty much correct.
Go dunk your head, you gold fucking savage.
Yeah, that works.
Voice roared back.
This is my ship. Drop the forward rudders. Hit the rear flaps.
Is he crazy?
Wakati's eyes widened.
No, she's a Jamaican girl.
I tried.
Yeah, that was a lot of switching around there, Jeff.
Sort of like a goblin voice right there.
Is he crazy?
I don't know.
Is he crazy? Wakati's eyes
Is
opened.
he crazy?
I don't know.
Just think green eggs and ham. We
Just
do not like green eggs and ham. We do not like them, Samayam. Is he crazy? That's how I get into it. It's
Really?
very
where
stereotypical.
did that come from?
Where did that come from?
Oh god, it's taking him.
Is
It's
he
taking him over now.
crazy?
Yeah, there you go. You got it.
Yeah.
Wakati's eyes widened, huge in her dark face. I was about to reply when the rudders dropped and the flaps flapped, and the ship suddenly pitched forward. It body slammed us all into the wall, including the guard, and sent unsecured cargo sliding across the deck to slam and shatter into the masts. And we were at the front of the ship, where the turbulence was least. Screams pealed from the back as rioting slaves and sailors were thrown off their feet into the air. "Crazy as a shithouse rat!" I shouted over the dead. The ship pitched up and down as I kicked in the door, and it nearly slammed back on me as an explosion rang out inside the cabin, the crack of a pistol in a small room. The slug hit the hardwood and bounced, and I burst into the room just to see one of the navigators take the ricochet right to the throat. "Hold it, asshole!" I leveled my spear at the captain, who was backed up into the other end of the bridge, where the rounded bubble windows converged into a soft point. "Freeze, or I'll run you through!"
Intimidate failed.
The captain snarled in frustration, frantically reloading as his navigator slumped off his chair and fell limply to the ground. I tensed for the charge, only to be thrown off my feet as the ship lurched to one side. The captain, wedged into the tight corner, was able to stay upright.
Hold it. Wait, whoa. Rutha? This is
Yeah.
a different.
So Ruth is the elf girl.
British.
British.
Britishy.
Hold it right there.
Rutha stalked in past me to the abandoned navigation panel, which flared to life in her presence.
Or I'll burn you alive in here.
At her command, the captain finally faltered.
Who in the hell are you people?
I am the court sorceress of the Protectorate of Ilia, and I demand that you put down your weapon. Now.
Rutha held her hand out over the navigation sphere, causing the blue-white globe to swirl and the ship to shudder. "Sir, please! Lucas is dying!" The other navigator called back, panicked. Rutha had told me she couldn't do anything about her spell gloves.
Without
her
a
spell.
spell. Yeah.
Sorry. I knew she was bluffing, but the captain didn't. He licked his lip, face beaded with sweat, and dropped his pistol.
Good man. Now, we're going to land as soon as we reach a coast. How far off are we?
Not far. About 20 leagues off of South Zont.
The captain growled, looking alongside at his other navigator.
Not a convincing growl. Sorry.
Then we're going to steer our way there very nicely and drop anchor. And pray to the gods the Phaedron Mercurians don't find us before I can summon help, because they'll be just as happy to grind you through their blood engine machines.
Yeah, so Zont is a really bad place to go as a slave, just
Okay.
by the way.
Okay.
Noted.
Grinded through blood engine machines. Are there
So
actually...
yeah, the
How would-
Mercurians have these machines that basically extract mana out of living things.
Hmm.
So it's
That's
like a human
interesting.
wood chipper.
It's cool because like the way they're described in the character creation is that they basically look like angels.
Yeah, they do, and they're all, and most of them are assholes. So-
Yeah, I could buy that. The captain grunted, looking down along my bloody spear, then at his injured navigator.
Lucas is out. You're a witch. Can you work a nav globe?
I'm a fast learner.
Rutha replied.
Good. Because we're already off course.
The captain was tense, with the baited, high-strung air of a vicious dog in a cage.
You there. Take my man downstairs and get him healing before he dies.
I was in half a mind to argue, given that the fuckwit had shot his own crew member, but if we were going to make land... Fine, but you better hold your end of the bargain, Captain. I pulled Lucas outside by the armpits, where my team and a few escaped slaves were waiting. Well, tell me about... So we got another character here, Lewis. What is Lewis's voice like? How did you imagine that, James?
I didn't actually have a specific voice for him.
Okay. What's happening?
last long. So.
What was that?
Spoilers, he's a red shirt.
He's a red shirt. Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, what's happening? Lewis asked. We're headed for land, and they're going to anchor and let us go. Wakati, Bob, do you think you can watch over the bridge? Make sure the captain doesn't get any funny ideas about Rutha. I have to go take care of our navigator and get some rest, or I'm going to keel over. Bob grunted and went inside without another word. Wakati nodded.
Sure.
All right. Good luck.
Yes.
And then I continued on my way, taking Lucas the navigator, semi-conscious and bleeding, down below decks for a brisk drag to the medical bay.
Oh yeah.
And scene.
I'm so glad those Jamaican lines were just short enough to where you couldn't really tell.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to work on my Jamaican too. It's like I can only do it if it's like really, really, really extreme. I can't. There's no in between for me.
Oh, you know, that's fine.
Great. So there you have it. They take over the ship, and you get into a little bit of the details of how that ship is powered. But do you want to explain a little bit about what's going on to keep this ship afloat?
So yeah, so magic in Archemi has a very like concrete system. Hang on a second. Sorry, give me 1 second. What?
Yeah, no worries. Well, we're going to be moving on actually
Sorry.
as well. Once James is back.
Yeah, sorry, I'm back. So yeah, so basically, mana in this setting is a physical substance, kind of like a fuel, and it's really toxic. So you have to handle it very carefully. People kind of handle it a bit like a cross between like, you know, nuclear fuel rods and, you know, raw gasoline. And as a consequence, you know, basically they use it to power certain types of engines. And Ruther actually goes into that a bit further on in the book. She talks a bit about like some of the equipment that keeps the ship up because she has to repurpose it. But yeah, like Magitech, I guess, is the short version of that.
Right. And really dangerous, really intense. Also, there's no healing in Archemi.
No, there's not any magical healing in this setting. So you can't just like cheese out and spam, you know, healing spells to get yourself through a fight. It's a little bit like The Witcher in that regard. So that's kind of one of my influences for the dynamic. And also, like in a lot of JRPGs, like the old ones, you had to rely heavily on potions. You know, spells are a bit harder to come by. So it's very like potion and you know, medicine based.
It's interesting that you mentioned The Witcher because one of the things that I noticed while I was reading through, doing my pre-read, is that I could find some not similarities, but I could just feel like I got the same feel as I did for The Witcher.
Yeah,
Witcher 3 specifically because I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, I think that game was probably the best like action-based RPG ever made. I mean, in terms of like being equal parts action game and like in-depth role-playing game, definitely one of the best. You know,
I noticed. I think that who all's watching? Who do we have here? If you're here, say hello in the SBT narration chat or on YouTube. I'm curious. Oh, we got Durzo and we got Annalise Rennie and Camaro76. Tito had a question. I don't know if Tito is still around, but go ahead and ask your question whenever you feel like it, Tito.
Tito's there. He's in Discord.
He's in the Discord. Yeah, Tito, go ahead and ask your question. While you do, I'm going to just read a little bit. And I want to talk a bit about AI because another thing that's standing out to me in my pre-read is how NPCs are treated and how the main character views the NPCs, which is an important dynamic, I think, to establish in your world because, or in any lit RPG, I think, because especially if your character is going to be interacting with a lot, like you want to know what do they think of them.
Yeah.
So this might shed some light on that. Rutha didn't know she was an AI, an algorithm, that there was a physical reality beyond Archemi. She didn't know there was a world without elves or hit points. This was her universe. Given my previous difficulties with women, It led to some uncomfortable questions. Like most NPCs in all the games I'd ever played, was she programmed to serve the heroes and heroines that came her way? Could she love, or was she executing a program designed to please me? Did it matter?
Yeah. So there is definitely a cyberpunk element to this series. I'm really influenced by Ghost in the Shell in a lot of, like, all of my work. I actually did my thesis on that movie because I'm that much of a nerd. And so, you know, those questions about, like, what makes a person human is one of the things that sort of underpins a lot of my writing. And in this instance, the way that the AI generally works, without getting into, like, the technical stuff about it, is that NPCs are procedurally generated from a data bank of actual human consciousness data. So we're hypothesizing that this thing has, like, you know, potentially tens of thousands of petabytes worth of data it can store. The average human consciousness is estimated to be about 2 petabytes of data. So, you know, assuming that you had that storage capacity feasibly, you could have, like, a database and then generate NPCs from that. Basically from volunteers who have been sort of fantasized, like, you know, their information has kind of been, like, put through a fantasy filter. So Ruther is one of those, and that's important later on in the series, the way that NPCs are generated and what happens when that generator is glitched. When things go wrong with it, it's not great.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Especially because of the post-apocalyptic setting, and there's not many people at the helm. That can get a bit messy.
So you can kind of expect some bugs.
Yeah, bugs and glitches feature in the series, definitely.
Perfect. Well, we're gonna move on. We're gonna go to another scene. We got about 22 minutes and 37 seconds and 8 milliseconds left in the show. But why don't we jump ahead? We are going to meet the first pet, I guess.
Ah, yes. Everybody's favorite, Cutthroat. Yeah.
Cutthroat. Let's see.
So Cutthroat is a hookwing. Hookwings are basically, like, if you can imagine a raptor, like a giant velociraptor type dinosaur, but with, like, mantis legs for front arms. That's a pretty good idea of what they look like. They have these instead of wings, because, you know, like in dinosaurs, the forearms are basically modified wings or pre-wings. So they have that kind of, like, elbow and then the long hand and everything. Well, instead of the hand, they basically just have, like, a giant scythe blade, and they stab things with them, and it's great.
All right.
Well,
until it's not. It's great until suddenly it's not, because it's a dinosaur and it hates you. So
could get pretty dangerous. The line, Jeff, that we're starting with is the quartermaster reluctantly rounded the corner. Or rounded the counter, sorry.
Yeah.
The quartermaster reluctantly rounded the counter. And you can play Cutthroat, okay, Jeff?
All right.
Cutthroat has
I hope you
line.
can screech.
Yep. Oh, Jeff can screech. Let's see. I'm just wondering. Oh, okay. For now. Okay.
All right.
Anyway,
The quartermaster did what? I'm sorry.
Quartermaster reluctantly rounded the counter.
The quartermaster rounded. Oh, okay. Oh, he's back. I thought he was going to take that for a second. Just like right in the middle of the show. Hello? Hello?
I did want to shout it up, though.
All right. So here we go. The introduction to Cutthroat, Hector's first pet.
Okay, so it looks like I'm also the quartermaster. So what is?
Yes.
What are we looking for the quartermaster?
Any ideas, James, for the quartermaster?
No, not in particular. This is the sort of Belgian Flemish kind of area of the world. So, I mean, you could get away with, like, a soft sort of French accent or German accent, but this is fairly soft. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Here we go. The quartermaster reluctantly rounded the counter where he worked and led the way toward the stables. Rutha was waiting for me there. She was leaning on a cane, her legs splinted and wrapped in bandages, and was watching 2 young squires in full plate armor trying to wrangle the biggest, meanest, scarred-up hookwing I had ever seen. The animal was the color of coal, with cruel gold eyes and an iron muzzle that encased most of her face. The squires had their visors down and were hanging on for dear life, while the big raptor lunged like a snake at one of them. She couldn't open her jaws, but the collision of the muzzle and helmet knocked the boy over onto the ground.
This is,
The quartermaster stopped well back from the chaos as other stable hands ran over to bring the enormous dino bird under control.
This is Kervena, monsieur. So everyone calls her Cutthroat.
Fantastic, I said flatly.
She comes from champion Destrier bloodlines.
The man said quickly.
I mean, bred for battle for generations and worth a fortune. But unfortunately, she never properly imprinted, and she takes the battle to her rider more often than not. To be blunt, monsieur, you may be better off walking.
I love that scene.
Yeah. You may be better off walking. I went in closer, and the hookwing reared her head up, fixing me with one baleful yellow eye. She had a silver icon over her head that allowed me to look at her character sheet.
Cutthroat, level 6, hookwing, female, reputation, -400, HP, 250, age, 7, abilities, gore. A hookwing's kick does double damage and causes bleeding. Disembowel, a power attack with the front claws with a 1% chance of instant death. Bite, 40 to 75 damage. Special, Berserk Rage. When injured, all attacks do plus 50% damage, but the mount becomes uncontrollable by all except the most experienced riders. Description, a hookwing destrier breed. Is it destrier?
Yeah, Destrier. Yeah.
A hookwing
Destrier.
destrier breed to carry knights into battle, Cutthroat proved too temperamental to send into war. Unusually large, cunning, and bad-tempered, she hates other hookwings and strange riders. The captain of the White Gulls uses her to haze new recruits.
I thought that you said she hates other hookwings and strange writers.
Yeah.
I did
Well,
say.
she probably does too.
Authors.
Oh, writers.
Yeah.
Okay. While I wondered how Archemi's combat system would handle me breaking my neck if I was thrown from this thing, Rutha hobbled a wide circle around my mount to be and came to stand by my left hand.
This hookwing is very energetic, isn't she?
She's a psycho hose beast is what she is, I replied.
Can you handle her?
Damn. She'd played my machismo card. Now I had to say yes. Sure. I'm not letting this overgrown chicken get the best of me. Cutthroat stomped her clawed feet as I approached, rattling in her throat. The muzzle kept her from biting me, but I was leery of the 2.5-foot-long ebony spikes that gleamed between the feathers of her arms. They were as long as scythes, and just as sharp.
Uh-oh.
Did he
What happened?
freeze again?
Shit.
No, Justin.
Okay. This couldn't be much different than riding a bike during stunt work, could it? I drew a deep breath and planted my hands on my hips. Okay, Hannibal, the cannibal. Either we get along, or I'm going to turn you into a turkey dinner. I turned to the shuddering stable hand near me. Give me those reins. The squire passed them over, and gratefully got out of the way. Cutthroat tried to bite me repeatedly as I pushed her hook arm in against her flank to stop her from skewering me, got a foot in the long stirrup, and pulled myself up into the saddle. She hissed, and as I reached down to grab the stirrup so I could shorten it, she shook herself like a dog. I was pitched off her side onto the ground, far too close to her taloned feet.
You have taken 5 points of impact damage.
Cutthroat immediately seized on the chance to fuck me up. She began dancing and stomping around, forcing me to roll and scramble to my feet to avoid being mauled. Sweating and clutching my back, I rejoined Rutha. She had shrunk against the far wall. There we go.
Hey!
Yeah, there he is.
Not sure what happened that time, but
Oh, All right.
Broadcast is still going?
Yes, it's still going. Start right after my scree.
Scream! Wait, I wanted to hear that though. Can I? Yeah. That was more of a rah.
I know.
Yeah, it's kind of a giant,
But see,
giant sound. Yeah, yeah, that's good. There you go.
We'll just like layer it upon itself and like lower it in octaves and stuff. Perfect. Okay, let's see. How many E's is scree?
3.
The number of E's is, variable.
Cutthroat immediately seized on the chance to fuck me up. She began dancing and stomped around, forcing me to roll and scramble to my feet to avoid being mauled. Sweating and clutching my back, I rejoined Rutha. She had shrunk against the far wall. The quartermaster had disappeared like a fart in the wind.
Oh, sorry. I was, what? Where'd I go?
Rutha! Rutha!
Okay.
Rutha, are you paying attention? Come on, Rutha, say something. Are you okay?
Come on, Rutha.
Too much to handle?
She asked, this time with her brows arched. Hell no. I straightened my back and winced. But once I get on that saddle, you know as well as I do that she isn't going to stop, so I thought I'd better say goodbye now, you know?
Hector's so full of it. That's great.
Rutha smiled again, but this time it was a little sad. She reached up to cup my cheek with a delicate hand.
I had a terrible time on the Arabella, but I have to admit, it turned out well. May the Lord and Lady keep you on the road, Hector. It's dangerous beyond the city. The Civil War was decided here in the South 3 years ago, but it still rages in the North. There will be all manner of bandits and strange creatures. Stranged? Is that?
Yeah, stranged. That's what happens when things get in contact with mana. They mutate into monsters. So.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty sure Cutthroat here eats nails and barbed wire for breakfast, and if there's any monsters, I'll be able to test out this old stick. I'm an adventurer. Sticking monsters is what I do.
I know.
She looked down, then back up to me.
I suppose this is goodbye for now?
She really was a beautiful woman. But whatever bond we had formed between us wasn't anything like love. Whatever it was, it still felt good, and I was okay with that. I patted her hand, the one on my face, then drew her into a careful hug. For now, next time you see me, I'll be a dragon rider. She hugged me back.
I believe you.
Cutthroat sneered and tossed her head as I approached, pulling her lips back from twin rows of curved dagger-like teeth. I tossed the spear to the recovered squire while the other one hung on grimly to the Hookwing's reins, then grabbed the saddle and pulled myself up. When she tried to shake me off this time, I was ready for it. I clung to the feathers on the back of her neck as she snapped and bucked. When I was sure I had my seat, I reached out a hand. The squire passed the reins to me, then got the hell out of the way. The Hookwing flapped her arms and screeched in rage, but I hung on to her back like a flea. When she lunged forward, I hauled back on the nose reins, forcing her to lift her head up and depriving her of forward vision. She shrilled angrily, trying to pull the reins from my hands, but the rings and muzzle stopped her from succeeding. The battle between us was decided. For now. And scene.
Okay.
She only had one
Nice.
line?
Yeah, sorry.
In that part, she has more later on.
Well, how about I read that last paragraph again, and you act out.
You can just scream the entire time.
Okay. So, the Hookwing flapped her arms. You're not act it out, Jeff.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, here we go again. The Hookwing flapped her arms and screeched in rage, but I hung on to her back like a flea. When she lunged forward, I hauled back on the nose reins, forcing her to lift her head up and depriving her of forward vision. She her screeches and shrills almost sound like laughter. She shrilled angrily, trying to pull the reins from my hands, but the rings and muzzle stopped her from succeeding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Battle was decided for now. Hey, round of applause for Jeff.
you get to act her out attacking a tree later on. She like gets mad enough. She gets mad enough that she just starts like attacking anything that moves or doesn't move, or that looks even vaguely like, you know,
A thing.
killable.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
And book two, like, I don't know if I want to talk too much about spoilers, but I'll just say that Cutthroat falls in love in book 2.
Oh,
and so you get all of the joyous, you know, like bird courtship stuff that happens, or dinosaur courtship stuff.
Yeah,
and that's a lot of fun. So.
That's cute. That I'm excited for that. Well, what can you tell us about your inspiration for the Hookwing? Because
so we have a lot of animals.
Of the details there are very.
Yeah, we have a lot of animals here. We have a horse. We do a lot of like rehab and rescue for aggressive animals, and we do, you know, we've had pet birds, many different kinds of birds, predatory birds, non-predatory birds, and basically any kind of like predatory bird. Like if you keep a raven or a crow in the house, you see that thing is actually a dinosaur. Like, you know, that thing. You can basically imagine that creature, you know, 8 foot tall, and you'll pretty much have a dinosaur. So a lot of my like animal stuff is from experience, either my pets or my wife's pets. And so, you know, Cutthroat has a lot of those predatory bird behaviors. And pretty much anything that's carnivorous is an asshole. It's just by default, you know, all of their instincts tell them to be an asshole. And especially birds, like, you know, crows, ravens, like you get people who are like, oh, I would love a crow as a pet. No, you really don't.
You really a crow as a pet?
You really don't want a crow as a pet. If you can handle it, like if you have the setup, okay, sure. But the setup is basically like Fort Knox. If your dishes are not secured, if you have weak combination locks on things, if you have stuff lying out, if you have furniture, they will peck holes in your furniture and pull all the stuffing of the furniture out. You can kiss your sofa goodbye with a pet crow. They can open doors. They can open drawers. They can pick locks. If they see you opening a combination lock, they can remember what the numbers on the combination lock are. They're assholes to the genetic level. So
owning. So what is? Maybe this is a spoiler, but is Hector going to come into some land or property at some point?
Eventually, book 3.
And I can imagine Hookwing or Cutthroat could get into some shenanigans there.
Cutthroat is always getting into shenanigans. Like, basically her entire like purpose in life is shenanigans. She's very intelligent and very aggressive, extremely food motivated. She hates Hector, but her instincts compel her to form packs with, you know, pack mates. So even though she hates him, she becomes really loyal to him, which is a really bad combination for Hector because he can't get rid of him.
Well, I mean, once he gets a dragon, I imagine he gets a dragon at some point. Then.
Yeah, he does, and that only... He's expecting the dragon to be easier, but then he forgets that not only is the dragon like a super predator, an intelligent sort of dinosaurian super predator, it has a mind of its own.
Right.
Like it's smarter than Cutthroat is, and the more intelligent a carnivorous creature is, the more of an asshole it is. So, you know, he's like, oh yeah, we got a dragon, this will be great. And then, I mean, it is great, but it's also a learning curve.
Yeah.
You don't just get on the back of the thing and flap around.
It's a great dynamic, I think, and it's a fresh dynamic that I'm excited to read more about. Because I've definitely seen like the dynamic of like, oh, this is my pet and I love my pet and my pet loves me. This seems a little bit more complicated.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's not too many people that have a lot of involvement with animals these days, not on like the behaviorist level. You know, people who are living in the country probably have more experience with them, but even then, like, you know, the handling livestock is different from rehabbing something that's aggressive or, you know, that has behavioral or health issues. And we do a lot of that kind of stuff. So I sort of lived up close and personal with a lot of different critters.
Yeah. Well, it shows definitely when describing Cutthroat and the other animals, the Barghests, when you run into them, they've got some details that make them feel real, like real animals.
Yeah.
And,
So
I
Tito
think you're
did have a
close to them.
question.
Yeah, Tito.
So he said, I've yet to read the second book. So taking that into account, how did Hector manage to finish being Starborn? Because before he was fully integrated, he could have perma-died. And does that have anything to do with that plan to fix the server?
This,
So the server stuff I would consider to be spoilers for anyone else listening. So I may avoid that part of the question. But in terms of the first part, he manages to basically what happens is when Matia picks him up, Matia, I guess you could see Matia as being like a sort of bug fix in the system to a certain extent. So when Hector is uploaded to the game, his upload glitches. It doesn't work out the way it's supposed to, and he kind of ends up basically as a functional NPC. The system pretty much reads him as an NPC, and then he gets adopted by Matia, who is the god of darkness in the setting, and Matia basically like PCs him to a certain extent. He makes he changes Hector's character type in the system. But what he does do is he actually makes Hector a type of unique character, and there's a reason that he does that that becomes apparent as the series goes on. And it gives Hector some advantages, but also some pretty significant disadvantages. And in terms of the permadeath thing, Hector no longer has the permadeath issue that he would have if he was an NPC class. But what he does have going forward is every time he dies, his data erodes. So he kind of gets a little less integral and a little less cohesive every time he dies. So he has a really strong incentive not to die.
Yeah, there are
as
some
the
real
series goes on, and he basically starts working this out around the second time that he dies and respawns, and he basically like it's actually at the end of the ship scene, the Arabella, where the slave ship goes down, that he sort of works out that something's not quite right with him, because he wakes up and he's got this piece of wood stuck to his shoulder. And eventually the wood disappears, like how it sometimes does in video games where you like have, something sticking out of your head or wherever, and then the thing disappears. It disappears, but it leaves like this black hole in his body. And it's not like a wound, and it's not like, a solid space, but it's not anything. And he's really freaked out by that. So stuff like that kind of happens going forward. And
I guess you're going to have to keep on reading there, Tito.
Yeah, and I will say he's not the only unique character in the system. Archemi is a beta, so there's a lot of things that are still kind of wrong with it, and a lot of things that kind of screw up. But he's not the only unique character class in the game, or unique, I guess, like programmed kind of persona in the game.
Right, and we'll start discovering more and more of them as we continue reading. I'm sure
the sci-fi element is quite strong in this series, and and that's because I really love game systems and sort of the framework that goes behind a lit RPG in a fantasy setting. I grew up playing D&D, so I kind of have that background.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fantastic what you've written. I'm excited for book 2. Book 2 is out now, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is. And I'm working on book 3 as we speak. I just finished like 2,000 words of it before I went to bed. So
excellent. Okay.
Oh, and Tito says, I hope he kind of finds a way to cheese. There is no cheese in this series. I am firmly anti-cheese, anti-exploit. There's no cheating. There's no gaming the game, so to speak. Yeah. The only people who do that are the villains.
They get punished for it,
the hero does not get anything easy in this series.
Awesome.
He fights for everything.
I'm looking forward to reading book 2. Unfortunately, we got to wrap things up. But I would just like to say, first off, thank you very much for everybody watching, for joining, and putting up with a couple technical difficulties that were happening on my end. Thank you for your patience. Thank you very much, Jeff Hayes, for joining us. Jeff, is there anything that you wanted to say before we wrap it up for you?
Yeah, just buy Soundbooth Theater audiobooks.
Do it.
Of course.
Do it.
But also, guys, it really helps when you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you liked watching this, it'll you'll stay updated on when our new ones come out. I think maybe next week we have another Soundbooth Theater live happening, probably Might be with Noah Barnett.
Awesome. That'll be fun.
With Annie Ellicott doing his next book. And also, I might be doing one as well because I'm getting started on book 3 of Everybody Loves Large Chests very, very soon. So that's going to be scheduled. Just keep an eye out. And
your Ruther voice is totally on point, by the way, Jeff.
Which voice?
Your Ruther voice is totally on point. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I practice that particular voice a lot in these fantasy books.
Yeah. Oh yeah, well, you know, the schoolmistress kind of voice is popular a bit.
Yeah, it definitely is. Awesome. And yeah, definitely join our Discord if you have already been watching. The Discord link is in the chat. And I think that's it.
All right, sweet. Thank you very much, Jeff. And James Osiris Baldwin, anything that you'd like to leave our viewers with from you?
No, just you can pick up Dragon Seed on Amazon, and the second book in the series, Trial by Fire, is half price all month for August. So Amazon's doing like a featured monthly deal on Trial by Fire, so you can pick up both books at a pretty good discount right now. You know, Trial by Fire I think is like $2.50 now. So.
Oh, nice. Oh, one more thing about buying the Kindle versions. There's a really good chance. I mean, the way that we do audiobooks, we change things up just a little bit. So there's a small chance that it won't completely sync up enough with the Kindle version to have a whisper sync deal on it. But if it is, if we do, I think it's 97% accurate. We have to be in order for the whisper sync version to qualify. But if you buy both of the Dragon Seed, the Archemi Online Kindle versions, then when the audio comes out, you'll get a big discount. They're going to be like $8 a piece instead of 15. So that's it.
Alrighty. Thank you very much for having me. And thank you for your awesome reading and your Jamaican accent, Justin. I could listen to that all day.
Green eggs and ham.
Green eggs. I think he dropped off again. All right, I'm out.
Oh yeah, he did. All right, later, guys. Oh wait, oh shit, I can't end it. He has to come back. I don't know. Is it still running? I know I'm trapped. I'm trapped in a YouTube stream. What do I do? I guess I'll just shit myself. Man, I got shit to do, YouTube. Why you gotta keep me here? Give YouTube a paradox. I kind of want to practice more raptor sounds. Because I didn't host the stream.
Okay, and I'm back.
Oh,
Hey,
cool.
everybody, welcome to Soundbooth Theater Live. My name is Justin Thomas James. We got Jeff Hayes here, and we're gonna do some post Soundbooth Theater rant. My fucking computer, man, I don't know what it is, but it just fucking hates me. 3 crashes in 1 hour. That is a Soundbooth Theater record.
Yeah.
Holy crow.
Amazing. I noticed that L actually cast you as Cutthroat.
Yes, I'm cast as Cutthroat. Do you want to be Cutthroat?
Only if you don't think you can handle her.
Oh, I can handle Cutthroat. I'm so ready. You should have heard me in the booth today. I was doing some crazy dinosaur stuff. I was standing up though, so it was a lot easier to get into it. But like maybe, no. I kind of look crazy while I'm doing it, but you got to hear it, man. You got to hear it. Like I just seem like a crazy person right there, but that was funny. There was a voice for Dave Wilmarth's Land of the Undying that I did, like it was like a monster voice, like screaming, and I did it basically like Cutthroat. Basically, the sound effect I did for that should be for Cutthroat, and then Jeff heard it, was like, no. I'll do this one.
All right.
But anyways, I should probably stop this broadcast before my computer crashes again. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. Thank you again, Jeff, and have a fantastic night, everybody. Bye-bye.